It's a harsh sentence. Now, had he murdered someone, 25 years, perhaps not even long enough. If he had robbed a bank, 25 years, maybe that makes a lot of sense. If he had beaten your grandma into a pulp, 25 years, maybe even longer. To me, that makes sense. Pranking people, 25 years. It's a long time. Coach Greg, in today's video, Vitaly, he's lost it all. And I'm not just talking about his life, I'm talking about his gains. Bro has previously admitted, we do in fact know this, or at least I think he did, that he's not 100% natural. Bro was on performance-enhancing drugs, namely steroids. And so before he went to Korea and got arrested for doing all those shenanigans, being absolute douchebag, an idiot, a moron, taking advantage of innocent people, and so the world essentially doesn't give a shit that he may spend the next 25 years rotting away in a cell, starving himself with basically no life whatsoever. And so you can debate whether the sentence is too harsh, not harsh enough, whatever, but I want to talk about the change in his appearance. And so when he was arrested, he looked like this. And so you can see he has a massive chest, he's got wide shoulders, he has fairly big arms, and he isn't very lean. It's not like he's a single-digit body fat, but he's respectable. Perhaps has some abs, not crazy shredded or anything, but he does have a lot of muscle. And if you're thinking, yeah, but he could have built a physique like that natural, well, he might have been able to, but he didn't. He used steroids to get that physique. But after 2 months off, 2 months going cold turkey. And no, he probably wasn't eating cold turkey. He was probably eating the most horrible diet known to man. And so without a proper PCD, he didn't have peptides, he didn't have SARMs, he didn't have anything. And so he's lost perhaps 40 pounds, maybe even more. Now, am I saying that he doesn't look good on the right? No. If you'd never seen him in his life, he's very lean, he has a lower body fat percentage, but he clearly has a significant drop in muscle. And so he is in fact surviving. And so if you're thinking, oh, but all these guys, they go to jail, they're like Andrew Tate, he must have used steroids when he was in prison. Does it look like he used steroids while he was in prison? If he were on performance-enhancing drugs, he would have way more muscle. Now, I'm certain he was eating in a calorie deficit because they gave him a total of $1.20 worth of meals each and every day. That's divided into 3 meals, costing each 40 cents. They don't want to waste money on this riff-raff coming from the United States. Keep him there for 20 years. Teach these privileged tourists that the laws apply to all people who set foot there. Respect the Filipino people and you shall be welcomed in our country. Disrespect us and you will be made an example. And so for me, what it does is it makes me never want to visit there ever. Now, I'm not justifying anything that he's done, but what if you entered this country and, I don't know, somebody looked like you and did something bad? I would be fearful that they could arrest me and I would end up in prison for 10 or 15 years for something that I didn't do. Now, you can argue that their punishments are better. Hey, if you do anything wrong, then you deserve to go to jail for 20 years. And so what I'm picturing is, what if somebody doesn't like you and they throw you in jail? Throw away the key, you're there for 20 years. And so I like when laws are fair.
You undercook fish, believe it or not, jail. You overcook chicken, also jail. Undercook, overcook.
You do something wrong, you go to court, you have a proper trial, and you get a fair sentence. And so imagine you're in a different country and you're on performance-enhancing drugs. Perhaps it's HRT. Perhaps you have a prescription and you forgot your prescription and you perhaps go and buy some performance-enhancing drugs on the street and you get caught and they say, oh, 20 years. Now, I'm not saying this is the case in Philippines, but if I go to a country where I don't know the rules and they can get away with anything, then it worries me and I wouldn't want to take that risk. And so most of the comments are in support of Vitaly going to prison for perhaps 25 years for all those horrible crimes. Remember, he was playing pranks on people, embarrassing them, doing stupid, dumb bullshit. But is it as bad as murdering someone? I mean, maybe it depends on your idea of murder and how bad it is to end someone's life for eternity. But 25 years, to me, it's a lot. And I can think of a lot of things that you could do worse than Vitaly, that if it happened in, for example, North America, you wouldn't go to jail for 20 years.
Russia explicitly coming out and saying, do not pull a Vitaly, condemning his actions, whereas the U.S. saying, look, simply, we're not going to take this guy.
And so perhaps he's from Russia, perhaps he's from the United States. I don't know. I didn't research him that much. But what I do know is bro isn't on steroids, and this is the difference. He's lost a significant amount of muscle, significant amount of body fat, and so this is exactly what would happen if you stopped using steroids or if you got bunk steroids and you decided to go on a cut. It's not going to end well. And so if you see guys who are perhaps fake natties and they're massive in their off season and they suddenly lose a bunch of muscle, you can almost bet with certainty that they're somehow on lower doses and or they are off. When you're 100% natural and you're not abusing performance-enhancing drugs, you're not going to lose a significant amount of muscle no matter what. I don't care if you're bulking, maintaining, or cutting. I don't even care if you're not going to the gym. You don't suddenly, out of nowhere, lose 10 pounds of muscle just because you're on a cut. Unless you stop using steroids. And so anyone that's natural right now, I'm telling you, if you decide to go on steroids, you might gain 15, 20 pounds of muscle, whatever. But if you do decide to stop, you're going to lose almost all of it. And I know it's sad to hear, and I know you're thinking, no, but I can just use one cycle, I'll gain 15 pounds of muscle, and I'll just keep it. You're not going to keep it. At best, you'll probably keep half. And so please respect the fact that you are not going to keep all of those muscles.
No indicators that he is unhealthy or that he's, received any sort of bruises or beatings or anything that many of the Vitaly sympathizers have tried to say is going to go on in jail.
And so they're saying he hasn't been tortured. Nothing bad has happened to him. When you don't eat, it's constantly on your mind. It constantly almost hurts, if I dare say so. It bothers you. You don't feel good. It's uncomfortable. It's almost mental torture. And so just because he hasn't had any hands laid onto him or beaten, I'm hoping he hasn't, doesn't mean he's not suffering. Okay? For example, there are so many different ways to torture a human being. You can put them in a room, leave them alone for a month, not talk to them. To me, that is torture. To the same extent, if you give someone 3 meals a day, perhaps it's only 1,500 calories, $1.20 worth of food, and if it's far less calories than they need in order to feel healthy, that in fact could be a form of torture. And so you don't necessarily have to touch anyone. You can isolate them, not give them enough food, and trust me, that is bad. And so 20 years in prison where they give you 3 square meals a day of having Haagen-Dazs ice cream and pizza and so on, while playing racquetball and sleeping in a king-size bed. Let's say that was your prison. You got a pool, you got everything. It's not all that bad. But let's say it's 1 year alone in a dark room, fed 1,500 calories a day. One could argue that that 1 year would be worse than
but actually the change of custody. And this is very intriguing because the change of custody actually shows us that this is something that is going to go on for a long time.
And so Russia and the United States, they don't want him. Leave him there. They're not going to deport him. Because remember, those crimes, had they been done in the United States, Canada, whatever, you're not going to get 25 years. Now, it's possible you do get jail time, but it's certainly not going to be as severe, as strict. They're not going to only feed you the minimum amount of calories. And so I'm certain he would dream of being sentenced somewhere else. Judge, we've decided to release you. Vitaly, OMG, thank you. Judge, prank! Don't worry, it's just a prank. And so what comes to mind is Turk around and find it. Now, I can't say that I think that 25 years is the appropriate sentence. Like, I'm not a fan of Vitaly, and I'm not defending his actions, but I don't feel like you should go to jail longer for doing some pranks, although they're stupid pranks, more than somebody who ends somebody's existence. But speaking of Turking around, Turk is in fact around. Turk Builder Max It's back in stock, and so I highly, strongly recommend you head to the website and use code Greg, 15% off. Remember, this is actual Ajuga Turkistanica. We're not ripping people off. We, in fact, have a money-back guarantee and a $20 gift card. Other companies, for example, Gorilla Mind, that never respond to me, and I wonder why. They're Turkplex. It's not Ajuga Turkistanica. We tested it again with chain of custody so that we could, if ever it went to court, prove that they're lying, that it's not what they say it is. When I right-clicked on the URL, it said turkesterone. When you look at the molecule on the bottle, it's turkesterone. But when you ask them in customer support, they say, we don't make any claims about turkesterone. Nootropics Depot, they tested them previously, it was 0.36 milligrams. We have 140 to 160% meeting label claim, as in it's way more than it says. And so we're not lying. And so you can continue to write it's snake oil. You can continue to say Greg is lying. I'm selling exactly what I claim to be selling, and in fact more. So if you want Ajuga that, for example, Will Tennyson's been using and many others, you can get it from HGLT Supplements, and if it's not from us, it's probably fake. Code Greg, 15% off. Click the link in the description. And it's almost with certainty I can conclude that Vitaly was not able to do a PCT. Remember, if you're using performance-enhancing drugs, let's call it Anavar, testosterone, whatever, and you suddenly stop, chances are your body's not producing testosterone. I'm trying to educate you. And so your LH and FSH are going to be in the tank, in the toilet. Ball sack's basically gone on vacation. It's not producing test. And so all that muscle that you put on because you were taking the Anavar, the Winstrol D-ball, the testosterone trend, whatever, those gains are going to quickly go down because your body now is not producing testosterone. It's just not. Prior to that, when you were on the test, the trend, you were making hella gains. Of course you were. But when you stop, the gains, they come to a halt and they disappear. That is the problem. And not only that, you're going to go from feeling like Superman to feeling like a piece of shit. I'm not exaggerating. You're going to feel horrendous. Now, there is something you can take. G-Test Platinum, G-Test Max. But I'm certain Vitaly, he's not been taking this. Now, remember, if you're abusing Tren, this is not going to be strong enough. But if you have lower levels of testosterone, you want to get them higher. For example, let's say they're at 400, you want to get it to 600. Try one of these. If you are feeling like you need elevated levels of testosterone, you're trying to get a test booster. Remember, these are not the test boosters of old. Those ones, they barely even work. These are significantly stronger. You can expect up to a 200 nanogram per deciliter boost in testosterone from using these. And so if you're interested in it, G-Test Max, it's on the website, or G-Test Platinum, even stronger. And don't forget, code Greg, 15% off. Click the link in the description.
I mean, he went from this to that. And I'm not advocating for inhumanity. I'm just saying fuck around and find out.
And so we're not about being inhumane, but fuck around and find out. And so what that means is don't knock on someone's door if you don't want to meet the person that's going to answer. Sometimes in life, you got to just avoid certain things. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a dick when you're traveling to another country. You're not under the same laws. You're not going to be treated the same. Whether or not you think it's okay to be inhumane, whether if somebody deserves it, or you can starve them, beat them, put them in solitude, whatever, that's irrelevant. Fuck around and find out. Thank you, Philippines, for setting an example. Doesn't get his protein shakes or steroids. I don't like him, but 25 years is excessive. He should be fined and banned from the country after he's been paid. I think that he does, in fact, deserve to go to jail. From the pranks that I saw him pulling, he went too far. But 25 years is a lot. Perhaps somewhere in the middle, maybe 5 years in prison. That's a fairly long sentence. I mean, let's say this was your brother, your sister, your dad, your mom, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, and they did a bunch of pranks, and you're thinking, this is a dick. This is an asshole. 25 years in a Filipino prison. It's a harsh sentence. Now, had he murdered someone, 25 years, perhaps not even long enough. If he had robbed a bank, 25 years, maybe that makes a lot of sense. If he had beaten your grandma into a pulp, 25 years, maybe even longer. To me, that makes sense. Pranking people, 25 years. It's a long time. And there's actually a few people that think kind of like me. Normally, Instagram in the comment section, people just hate on anything that you do. For example, you're riding a bicycle and you get hit by a car and they say the biker deserved it. The person's paralyzed. I'm thinking if that was your mom and they got paralyzed riding their bike, you would say they deserve that? Like, just because the bike rider was a little bit too far on the road? Like, have some compassion. I mean, I don't feel like I'm the most compassionate person in the world, but when I see people getting injured, bicycle riding, motorcycles, some people are literally no longer with us, and people are saying they deserved it. They're speeding on their motorcycle, they deserved it. Wow. I mean, it's shocking that people think like this. Why is everyone so happy to see this guy get locked up? Well, I mean, that goes without saying. I mean, I'm not as far as this guy. They're happy he's getting locked up because he's literally a bully, a huge bully. He bullies people. He takes advantage of people who are less physically able than him, have less money than him, and he thinks he can just get away with it. So he deserves something for sure. I know he messed up, but y'all really think the punishment fits the crime? Well, that's where I agree with him. I think the 25 years is a little excessive. Like, after all, he didn't actually physically beat up anybody. Like, no one's been put to hospital. He never broke anyone's bones. They're not going to have to recover from a dramatic injury and so on. And so when somebody goes and attacks someone, like if he had went up to somebody and beat them to a pulp and robbed them, stole their money, assault them, yeah, then it would fit the crime. I feel bad for him, but worse for his poor mother and family. I hope he gets out early, SMH. 3 likes. 3 people. In the world, 3 people agree with that statement. And so he's not getting any sympathy. Like, I'm telling you. Dried fish and rice 3 times a day for the next 25 years. Thoughts and patties. Thoughts and patties. Wow. He can't be deported because neither Russia nor the US wants him. And so, in conclusion, what did we learn from this video? We learned Turk around and find out. We learned if you use performance-enhancing drugs and stop taking them, you're going to lose a lot of your gains. We learned if you want to boost your testosterone, you can take G-Test Max or G-Test Platinum, and that's going to help you. We also learned that the world doesn't give a shit about people. If you do anything wrong on the internet, they basically are in support of the worst crime punishment possible. Even though, last I checked, everyone on this planet has sinned one time in their life. We all make mistakes. All of us. This is including me. Several mistakes, probably more than you've made. But we all do things wrong sometimes. Perhaps we lied one time, shoplifted, we said something mean. We've all done things that are bad. And if every time we did something bad, we had to go to jail for 25 years and starve, that would be a bad place to live. I think that rather than being on earth, we could say we've actually gone to hell. And so I hope that people can understand that you should have some form of sympathy for people. People do in fact make mistakes. You yourself have probably made a mistake at least once in your lifetime, and I would like you to reflect on that time. Imagine if because you had done that one thing, you went to jail for 25 years. You pranked someone, and it was bad. You shouldn't have done that prank. You took the salt shaker off the lid in university, and then they poured all the salt, and it ruined their meal. Years in prison for that, it feels like a lot. And so where do we draw the line? Sometimes people just aren't as educated as you are. Like, you're probably a nicer and you can think rationally, and you're thinking, doing bully pranks on people, it's not cool. You shouldn't do it. Like, you shouldn't do it at all. Other people, they're not as advanced intellectually as you are. And although I call most of my subs morons, it's because most of you are. Some of you are less moronic than others. And so you can kind of see how things are wrong and you don't do it. Other people, they just can't. And so when you see a 16-year-old abusing performance-enhancing drugs, test and trend, and you say, hey, well, whatever side effects, they deserve it. They're kids. They don't know. Their brain hasn't finished developing. They don't understand these things. Or perhaps they never had a father or a mother, or their family didn't raise them right. And so they do certain stupid things, and you see these people as adults. We all can point at people around the world, or friends, family, perhaps even, and so on, and they are a little bit messed up. But we have to have some compassion, but at the same time, we can't just let them get away with it. And so we need to strike the balance.
Just pick this up. Is it gonna be busting? We finna find out. First, I gotta remove this one.
That's what we learned. Ending it here. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Please like the video if you liked it. Don't forget to watch one of those 2 bloops. And of course, if you want coaching by me and my team, click the link in the description and apply right now. Apply faster than last time. The cookbooks, the training books, the Circle diet book, the harder than last time clothing line. You get it all on the website. Don't forget code Greg for 15% off. And until next time, I am out.